Alright, what's up, everybody? Back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we're going to be talking about the process, man. The Philadelphia 76ers, they're in a very weird position right now. I'm going to talk about why I think the process era in Philly is coming to an end pretty soon. We're going to get all into that. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. Really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. Look at the analytics. A little bit less than 1% of you that actually watch the videos are subscribed. So, if you're watching the content, hit the subscribe button. It really mean a whole lot. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So, we're talking about the process. Joel Embiid and that era in Philadelphia. There's been comments the last few days from Joel Embiid, uh, yesterday, saying, was it yesterday or the day before? It was one of those 2 days where he basically said, "Yeah, I want to win. I want to just be in the best position to win a championship, whether it's here in Philly or wherever it is. I just want to be in the best position to win a championship," and that kind of sparked a lot of things because that was the first time, or one of the few times that Joel Embiid has actually opened up about potentially leaving Philly, or even mentioned the idea of leaving Philly, especially after the whole James Harden, first time after the whole James Harden situation that's been going down, um, about him leaving Philly, and there's been a lot of talk about the last year, especially after the way they went out in the playoffs, and now with James Harden requesting a trade and not wanting to be in Philly anymore. There's reports saying that James Harden and Daryl Morey's relationship is kind of severed a little bit, reported by Shams, and that he only wants to be a Clipper. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Yeah, so there's been a little bit of talk about Joel Embiid possibly requesting a trade, potentially very soon if they can't piece together another roster that can go far in the playoffs again. And Joel has been very, very good. Obviously, he won MVP last year. He's been amazing ever since he's been to Philly. He's been a superstar like player, but they just have not been able to get over the hump of losing in the second round. Yeah, if you look in the process era, or this Joel Embiid era, they've made the playoffs since 2017-2018 season. For them, for 6 straight years, including last year, they have been in the playoffs. And out of those 6 years, 5 of those 6 years they've lost in the second round. Which, cool, they're making it out, but it's like at some point they've had so many good teams. It's not like they've been like 6 seeds, 7 seeds sneaking by in the first round either. Like they've out of these 6 years, 4 of those years they've won 50 games. 2018 they won 52 and 30. 2019 51 and 31. 2022 51-31, and last year their best record since the 2001 season when they went to the finals. They won 54 games last season, and they've had a lot of expectations. They've had great players again, like Joel Embiid, who has been one of the best players in the league last few years ever since he's debuted. MVP last season, had his best year. He has been a scoring champion 2 times in a row. He's been an all-star those years. He's been great. And then with the early 2018-19 season, they had Ben Simmons at all-star level. They had guys like J.J. Redick, Tobias Harris. They had the year with Jimmy Butler. That year with Kawhi hit that shot against them. They had that year. And then the last few years where they had trading for James Harden. Like they've had a lot of, with Doc Rivers coming in as a coach, they've had a lot of expectations for this Philadelphia 76ers team, obviously. They've had a lot of expectations being a really good team recently, but they have just not been able to get over the hump of not even making it to the finals, reaching the conference finals, you know? And they've had some good opportunities to make it to the conference finals. Looking at those second round losses. In 2018, they lost to the Boston Celtics in 5. This was the series where I think, yeah, wasn't it Kyrie and Gordon Hayward are hurt, and this is the young Celtics series where Terry Rozier, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown were going off, and Al Horford and Marcus Morris on this team. They lost in 5, but this is the first time in the playoffs in a very long time in this era. So you can get a little bit of, okay, 2019 was the Kawhi shot. 2019 they lost to the Raptors. This was probably one of their best teams they've had, where they had Yeah, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons at All-Star level, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick. This is a very good team. They lose to the eventual champion Toronto Raptors. The Kawhi Leonard shot. 2020, they got swept in the first round in the bubble. 2021, that was, I think, a big crushing year. 2021, they lost to the Atlanta Hawks in 7 games. This was the series where Ben Simmons passed up on dunking on the layup on Trae Young and passed it out. This was that series. And yeah, they're the best record in the East. They were 49 of 23 because the games are shortened, so that's why they had that record. But yeah, they only had 72 games that year. They won 49 games, the best record in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, this was the year where Ben Simmons passed up the shot, and this is the year where yeah they lost to the Hawks. That was not a great loss. Looking back at it now, especially seeing what the Hawks haven't really done that much since this series. But yeah, not a great loss. Looking back at the series right now, yeah, game one they lost this series. I mean, game one they lost this game. I think this is the game I remember where they didn't put Ben Simmons on Trae Young. Danny Green was on Trae Young. They won game two, game three. So they go up 2-1. In game four, they lose by 3 in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure this was the game where Joel Embiid, Joel Embiid didn't have a good game. He shot 4 for 20 from the field. Had 4 turnovers, 17 points, and they lost this game. And then game five was a big crusher as well. Game five, Ben Simmons had 8 points, shot 4 for 14 for 3 throws. Tobias Harris had a pretty bad game. In this game, he had 4 points on 2 for 11 shooting. In this game, yeah, this was a bad loss for them at home. But then they came back and won game 6 by 5. It was a good game. And then the game 7, this is where Ben Simmons passed up the shot. Joel had 8 turnovers in this game. Ben Simmons had 5 points. Didn't really get that much from their bench. Kevin Huerter dropped 27, and they lose this series. And that, I think that was a big one, honestly. I think looking back at it now, that was a big series. Obviously, this is the end of the Ben Simmons era in Philly. This is probably their best chance to reach the conference finals, getting a good matchup in the Atlanta Hawks, and they will go to the conference finals to play the Bucks. That would have been an amazing series. When I said they lose that series in 7, and that was a big one, you know. And then 2022, they lose to the Miami Heat in 6 games. This is also another kind of big one. The Heat were the best team in the East this season. The Sixers still won 51 games. This is the series where James Harden's first year in Philly, and James Harden did not have a good series at all against, um, against Miami. James Harden averaged 18 points, shot 40% from the field, 35% from 3. Tobias Harris actually was their best player. I mean, Tyrese Maxey was their best player in the series, averaging 20. Joel missed a couple games, which we're going to talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, they lose in 6, and then this season when they lose to the Celtics in 7, when they were up 3-2 going into Boston. I mean, they're up 3-2 going home, and they lose game 6 and game 7 in bad fashion. And that now this kind of seems like the end of it. You know, this kind of seems like the final straw to this whole process series, them losing that series in 7. That was literally probably their best chance they've had to get to the conference finals. Up 3-2, going home, and they lose 6, and then they go to Boston and lose game 7. Jason Tatum puts up 50 on them, and not even a competitive game 7. They got blown out in game 7. But yeah, it just looks like the process is coming to an end. Feels like it's drifting towards that way. With Joel Embiid, he's missed a lot of time during these playoff series as well. Of course, he has a lot of injury problems. So he has a little bit to blame for it. He's missed a lot of games. Usually he's had really good playoff moments. He's been a really good playoff player this season. He has some good moments, but against the Celtics in the second round, I feel like he didn't really have any Joel Embiid type games. He also kind of came back early from a leg injury. And yeah, he's got a little bit to blame for this as well. Obviously, he's the star player of the team. He is the guy that's surprisingly hasn't really had a lot of the stuff thrown towards too, because I feel like there was always a backfall. You know, early in the years it was Brett Brown didn't know how to coach, and then it became Ben Simmons is bad, and then it was James Harden can't do anything. Now it's like, all right, what's next? Now that James Harden wants out, it's kind of everything is now gonna try to kind of get thrown towards Joel Embiid, because now it's like, all right, you don't have anything else to backfall on. The Sixers don't really have anything else, to backfall on. So at this point, it's like if we want to get better, we got to find something. But if not, Joel Embiid might have to be the guy we got to move on. And who's to say Joel won't request a trade next season if James Harden isn't there, or if they trade James Harden for something not great, trading for a couple role players, which I don't think is actually as bad as people think it is. But still, you're giving up an all-star level player for a solid bench players. Like, I can understand why a lot of people don't think that's really that good. But yeah, man, it's a weird time to be in Philly right now as a Sixers fan, or to be with the Sixers organization, because you kind of know that James Harden wants out. James Harden wants to go to LA, be with the Clippers. And then after that, when you trade him to, if you trade him to the Clippers, if that does happen, which it probably will happen. I don't know when, but maybe eventually it will happen. You're gonna get back what Norman Powell, Marcus Morris. Those are good players, but is that taking your team to the next level? I don't think so. And then a lot of the low is gonna be put on Tyrese Maxey, who doesn't even have a contract extension right now, because there's been talks about potentially him being in a Damian Lillard trade. So they're not talking about a contract extension with him yet. So who knows what that's going to turn into if they don't trade for Dame, and then who knows what that's going to turn into. And then after that, it's like, what do you have left? Tobias Harris is on the last year of his contract. Um, yeah, that's it. They don't really have any exciting young talent that's coming up. They didn't have a pick in this year's draft. They don't really have any young exciting talent you can backfall on. So right now it's just looking like we're kind of in the end processes of the 76ers. We're kind of in the process of like, all right, we're, I don't even know how to explain it. Kind of like we're trying to take it to the next level, but we don't have anywhere to take it to the next level, and things are kind of crumbling little by little. With James Harden requesting the trade, and then saying him and Daryl Moore's relationship is kind of going down the drain, and then with Tyrese Maxey isn't getting a contract extension yet because we want to trade him for a star player, even though there's not that many star players on the market right now that they can really realistically go and get. And then Joel Embiid having those comments of I want to win, whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else, I want to win. So, yeah, I think the 76ers are heading towards a rebuild. When it's going to happen, I'm not sure, but it's coming. It's coming very, very soon, especially after this whole James Harden situation goes down, if he ends up getting traded or if he's still on the team and maybe he wants out. I don't know. There's been talk about, maybe he'll come in the camp. We saw what he did when he requested a trade from the Rockets and he came in and had to play. We saw how that goes, and we see how James Harden acts or feels when he's not in a perfect situation for himself. We see what he can do. And, yeah, it's looking like it's a bad time right now in Philly. It's looking like it's coming down to a very weird, bad time, and I really don't know what's gonna happen, honestly. But I know in the end result, Joel Embiid will not be a 76er for a very long time from now. Whether it's a year, 2 years, something. I think it's coming down to that time that unless Philly hits a quick audible or something crazy happens for them, and something crazy lucky happens for them, I really just don't know where Philly can go up from this point where it's not trading away Joel Embiid and just starting it over. But yeah, that's it for today. Just want to make a quick video talking about the 76ers because I feel like they're in a really weird situation. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.